After Sarah Miles is a new one-man play from Michael Hilliard-Mulcahy, and it stars Don Wycherley. It centres on the life of a fisherman in a small town in rural Ireland. Both Michael and Don are with me in studio this evening. I'll start with you, Michael, and you tell me, after Sarah Miles, what this play is about. Sarah Miles suggests that there's something got to do with that actress.
Yeah, it's it's a movie that our central character works on in his early teens, and it sets the platform. It sets the foundation for his life, and he does come into with contact with Sarah Miles and with a certain Robert Mitchum as well. But it's not a story of an extra. It's very much, this is the beginning of the story, and the after Sarah Miles is, I guess his story happens from there on, after Sarah Miles.
Now, the film clearly is Ryan's Daughter. Where was Ryan's Daughter shot?
It was shot in a town called Dingle. I don't know if you've heard of it.
I have. And how close would that be?
I think that it's called Dingle, actually.
We got our name back.
How close would that be to your own hometown?
It's over the hill, as they say. It's just over the Connor Pass. I grew up in the Castle Gregory area, so I'm familiar with Dingle. It's all the one Dingle Peninsula, West Kerry as we call it.
But you certainly weren't 15 or 16 when Ryan's Daughter was being shot.
I was one, perhaps, something more like that. But I think it was one of those things that you grew up with. It was it was something that we were very aware of in the whole peninsula. It was one of those movies where the whole myth and kind of folk stories around it were more popular than the film itself. And I guess that it was always in my head. It was, when I started writing, I knew that I didn't really want to write a play about it as such, but I knew that I'd sneak it in there somewhere.
In fact, the character, the main character is called Bobine.
It is.
Explain where that name comes from.
That'd be telling an awful lot now. I think that...
Do you not want to tell where that comes from? I don't think that. It's one or two pages in, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I mean, every fisherman that I knew and grew up with has a nickname. And Bobine isn't his real name, but how he gets his real name is we learn that in the first page or two, and I think I'll say no more about that.
So they have to go and at least listen to page 1 and 2 to find out where Bobine comes from. Don, when did you first come across Michael's script?
Well, I think he sent it to me. I'd encountered Michael. I'd seen his wonderful play Beyond the Brooklyn Sky. It was last year, was it? And it's Dublin Theatre Festival last year. So we had met, and you'd just said it to me over it. I don't know. We'd met at some show, or he said I'd be interested in sending. Next minute he sent it to me, and I thought it was a wonderful piece of writing, fresh. I'm from down that neck of the woods, a little over the mountain. But in West Cork, but at the same time, it's a neck of the woods that I'd be very aware of, and it just resonated with me. I thought it was a wonderfully epic story of a very ordinary man, and as I said, it resonated with me, and I said, yes, I'd be delighted to get involved with this, and so that's why we're here.
Right, well, let's hear a little bit from it. How much do we need to know about what has happened up to this point you're going to perform for us now?
I think, just listen to it. I think this is just a piece of it. This is the man Bobine that you are referring to, and this is him talking. I ramble down to the chipper, and there she is again with the guitar man beside her. I order my chips and that. Angie and Eric Clapton are having words, to put it mildly, like, I can feel my blood boiling, swear if he puts a hand on her, I'll fucking do for him. They take their row onto the street, and I'm smiling to myself now, because she's after firing Eric Clapton's chips back into his face. The bottle of brandy follows, and Clapton is lucky to have dodged it, like, could it be nasty, She's heading down the street now, and himself is heading after her, and if he is, I'm heading after him, because I'm just going to keep an eye on proceedings, make sure she's safe, like. The two of them drift apart. Thought it occurs to me to follow him and give him a bit of a pasting, like, but Angie's making her way down the mall, and I just can't help myself. She's heading for the beach road along the banks. The boys weren't telling fibs, like. She's heading for the small sandy cove of Slawdeen. Surely she's not going to get in the water at this time in her state. I trail her all the way, careful to keep a safe distance all the time. What am I doing? Like, if she gets in the water and anything should happen to her, there's little I can do about it, 'cause like most fishermen, I can't swim. She's on the beach now, I'm up on the banks. There's a beam of light on the bay, wherever it's coming from I don't know, for there's no sign of a moon this night. She's huddled up in a big black rock, holding herself tightly, her face on her knees, and I can hear her crying. I want to go down and put my 2 arms around her, but I can't. I know I can't.
Don Wycherley performing from After Sarah Miles, new play from Michael Hilliard Mulcahy. Both Don Wycherley and Michael are with me in studio this evening. Michael, Don described it there as, I thought, the epic story of a very ordinary man. Was that the way you put it, Don? Oh, yeah. To what extent were you trying to put this ordinary man, give him a voice and put him on the stage? Maybe the sort of man that we don't hear from very much.
He's a fisherman. I have a lot of friends that grew up around a lot of people who are fishermen, and I remember being down in Dingle last year, and I had a house rented there, and a good fisherman friend sat with me a lot of nights, and we drank tea, and he told me stories, and he told me amazing stories.
And have those made their way into the play?
Yeah,
Is it that direct?
Some of them have, yeah. Obviously, I had to tweak them here and there, but I had so much. One particular story of his, when he was out on the boat beyond the Blaskets one time with his friend, it was so vivid, and I said to him, look, I was wondering, will this guy ever come to see this? Just in case he does, I better say, look, I want to use that story. So I went to him, and I asked him, and he said, "Fire away, boy." Fire away, boy. It was grand. But that's, Don just read there. This. We go through the 60s, the late 60s. We go through his life. We go into the 70s. We spend a lot of time in the 80s. Another great thing happens in the town, and he discovers another great thing, and it gives him an enormous merciful lift. And then we spend some time in the 90s, and the scene where Don read, this woman comes back into his life that he met,
years before,
and she's a beautiful artist, English hippie woman, and he just. I suppose it's a love story, really.
I think what it encapsulates for me, when I said it's an epic story of an ordinary man, I think everyone's life is extraordinary, and this is just his life, and he starts out, and when he tells it, and it becomes clear why he has to tell this story, but it's a story of his life, of his loves, of his losses, his friendships, and he just kind of pours forth. And I certainly, anyway, when I was reading it, I said, this is a joy, and I certainly am looking forward to performing it, and I hope that people will come and
One thing, however, it is a one-man show.
Yes.
So you're all by yourself out there. How challenging is that?
No, it is. It's tough out there. It's like the old man in the sea, because he is a fisherman. But yeah, it is tough, no doubt about it. And you have to sink or swim on your own. It's I've done one before. It's scary. I won't lie to you. Even now as we're talking about it, I'm going, oh really? Do we really want an audience? And I'm going, yes. You have to open the doors at some stage and let people in and see what you've been doing. And though I can't wait to have that happen, I'm also terrified.
Nervous, bit of both. Well, best of luck with the production. I know you did a reading of it down in Dingle, and that was well received, but you're doing a full staged production of it now, and that's happening at the Viking Theatre in Clontarf.
Floating World Productions.
Floating World Productions, After Sarah Miles by Michael Hilliard Mulcahy. Viking Theatre in Dublin from the 1st to the 13th of July. Do we have a website there?
Yeah, vikingtheatre.ie and Floating World have a website as well.
All right. Well, if you go to vikingtheatre.ie, I'm sure you'll get the details there.
And the ticket.
Fair enough. Okay.